Okay, so let us see an example for this. Construct a PDA that accepts that accepts a language L 0 raised to n 1 raised to n, where n is greater than equals to 0. The language means that there should be equal number of zeros followed by equal number of ones. यानी जितने zeros रहेंगे उतने ही number of ones होने चाहिए. अभी हमने देखा था यूजिंग पंपिंग लेमा, हमने ट्राई किया था कि फाइनाइट ऑटोमेटा जो रेगुलर लैंग्वेजेस है वो ये स्ट्रिंग एक्सेप्ट कर पाता है या नहीं. So using pumping lemma we tried, but it came down to the thing that it cannot be accepted. So such languages were not accepted by FSM. So let us see if pushdown automata can accept this string. So how do we start? First ये अपना initial state as usual रहेगा, start state marked रहेगा. Starting symbol will always be Z0. I mean there will be an epsilon input always first. जो हमने ये देखा था ये A B gives C ये फॉर्म में. तो for any push down automata sums the starting symbol will be epsilon and there will be epsilon gives Z0. So इसका मतलब ये है कि epsilon आने पे transition तो होगा and epsilon gives Z0 का मतलब है I said this side of the symbol means that there has to be something pop from the stack. तो अभी आप चेक करोगे कि epsilon है मतलब there is nothing to be pop. ये हमने लास्ट वीडियो में किया था. बट Z0 इस साइड पे है एंड दिस साइड पे जो भी होता है वो हमें स्टैक में पुश करना पड़ता है. सो ऑलवेज रिमेंबर दैट Z0 विल बी द फर्स्ट सिंबल. ऑलवेज Z0 विल बी द फर्स्ट सिंबल टू बी पुश्ड ऑनटू द स्टैक. So it is the first element that is pushed onto the stack. Then on input 0, we will push 0 onto the stack. Why? Because see again it gives on input 0 the transition is in Q0 only and it gives epsilon gives 0 which means अगर 0 आता है तो ये 0 push करना है क्योंकि pop करने के लिए कुछ है नहीं. Again ये side पे epsilon है. I am repeating once again, ये side जो होता है that means the element has to be popped. ये side पे अगर symbol है that means the element has to be pushed. Now this side पे there is an epsilon which means nothing has to be popped. This side पे it is 0 which means 0 has to be pushed onto the stack. So on getting an input 0, it will make transition in the same state and it will pop nothing but it will push 0 onto the stack. But अगर Q2 state से input 1 आता है, then in that case it makes a transition to Q3 such that after making transition to Q3 it gives production of 0 gives epsilon which means ये side का जो symbol है वो pop करना है. That simply means that you have to pop 0 from the stack and there is nothing to push in the stack. Next again on input 1 it is making transition in Q3. So one input पे same state में रहेगा but again it says it gives 0 gives epsilon which means on input 1 you are making transition but you are popping 0. Again on input 1 you are making transition to the same state but you are popping 0 और push करने के लिए कुछ नहीं है. Which means if you reach end of the string so there is an epsilon, so which if there is an epsilon at the end of the string so you reach the final state और फाइनल स्टेट में जाओगे तो दैट इज Z0 ओनली टू बी पॉप क्योंकि ये सबसे फर्स्ट एलिमेंट था. तो फाइनल स्टेट में पहुंच के अगर सिर्फ Z0 है पॉप करने के लिए स्टैक में विच मीन्स दैट द लैंग्वेज इज एक्सेप्टेड विच मीन्स दैट द ट्रांजिशंस आर करेक्ट यानी ये लैंग्वेज एक्सेप्ट हुआ है. See, check if Z0 is the top and the only element. If yes, then the string is accepted. यानी फाइनल स्टेट में पहुंचने के बाद स्टैक से पॉप करने के लिए सिर्फ Z0 ही बचना चाहिए. अगर Z0 से ज्यादा या कोई दूसरा एलिमेंट है, then the string will not be accepted. Let us have a simulation over here. सेम ट्रांजिशन फंक्शन हमने लिया है यहाँ पे 0 0 1 1 के लिए. So first starting state is as it is. I said epsilon है, epsilon gives Z0 मतलब सबसे पहले Z0 stack में होगा. Then on input 0 we are making transition in the same state that is Q2 में ही रहेगा लेकिन epsilon gives 0 यानी nothing has to be popped but 0 has to be pushed onto the stack. तो Z0 हमेशा पहला रहेगा फिर हम top को increment करेंगे and the next input 0 that is pushed onto the stack. Again we are reading an input symbol that is 0. So if you see Q2 पे 0 आता है तो वापस transition Q2 में ही हो रहा है and again there is nothing to be popped but 0 is to be pushed onto the stack. So after this 0 we are incrementing top and we are pushing one more 0. Next input over here is 1. So if you see being in Q2 state, अगर one input आता है, then we are making transition on Q3 state, and we are popping 0 out of it, and we are pushing nothing onto the stack because it is epsilon over here. Which means जब जब input 1 आएगा, Q3 पे transition होगा, and the topmost element, that is 0, is popped out of the stack. So next again, sorry, next again there is an input 1. So again on input 1, we are making a transition to Q3 over here, and we are popping 0 out, and we are pushing nothing onto the stack. So ये वाला जो 0 था वो भी हमने pop कर दिया on input 1. Next, you see there is nothing, end of the string, so there is an epsilon basically. So जब भी Q3 वाले state में epsilon आएगा, which means it is making transition to the final state. तो अगर transition कर रहे हो final state पे, then Z0 has to be popped out, and you have to make sure that there is only Z0 left in the stack, which is true. एक जीरो निकाला, दूसरा जीरो भी पॉप किया, so now we are left with only Z0 from the stack, जो भी पॉप हो जाएगा. So on reaching final state, Z0 is the only element, and also that is pop, which means the string is accepted. Thus, if the string is accepted, then the stack should be empty. So उसका other way round कैसे हम निकालते हैं कि Z0 भी pop हो गया, यानी stack पूरा empty हो गया, which means that the string is accepted. So this is how push down automata works. I hope it is clear. Next video we'll see another example of this.